Welcome to Tabletalk. Today's episode, we're talking how to play Whirling Witchcraft. The objective of this game is players use their recipe cards to produce as many ingredients as possible. They place these ingredients in their cauldron to send to their nemesis. To set up the game, give each player a workbench, a cauldron, and a reference card. If the players are new to the game, give each player an initiate card. Once you're done, shuffle all the recipe cards and deal 4 to each player, face down. They should be kept secret from all the other players. Place a recipe deck within reach of all players. The 5 ingredients are toad, spider, mushroom, mandrake, and heart of shadow. Then place the ingredient cubes in a general supply within reach of all players. Players then take all their ingredients on their initiate card, which should be 1 mandrake, 4 toad, 4 spider, and 4 mushroom. The initiate power is before choosing a recipe. Discard this card to discard your hand and draw 4 new recipes. For a more advanced game, where players can be dealt 2 random personality cards, they will choose one and give the other one back to the box. These advanced personalities can have a starting recipe, or a ability, or potentially both. If players are new to the game, they can use their reference card. On the back side, they have Arcana trackers, and give each player a book, a cauldron, and a crow. An Arcana token to keep track of their Arcana. We're ready to begin the game. For this how-to, let's look at the blue player. The first step in the study phase is to play recipes. To play recipes, each player plays a recipe from their hand. To do that, we're going to look at this hand and determine what recipe we would like to play. A couple things though. Each recipe has an input and an output. The input comes from your workbench, the output comes from the general supply. Some cards have Arcana. As you can see, this has varying different kinds of Arcana. We'll talk about how those resolve in a moment. When you play a recipe, you should have the arrow facing you if it has an arrow. That determines the flow of the recipe. What is input versus output? However, some recipes have an S in the middle, which can be determined by the player when you reveal it to the rest of the table, so you can orient it 180 degrees if you would like, so you can choose what is the input and what is the output. In this particular case, there's also some symbols that have a slash. That allows you to choose what ingredient goes in that particular space. But for this play, we're going to choose Spore Lore. So we're going to play it face down, and once all players have decided what they're going to do, we'll reveal it simultaneously. Once revealed, we'll then check Arcana and resolve it. In this case, first turn, no one has any Arcana to resolve, but they will move their marker to the first space for any Arcana they have received. So that would be step 2, revealing recipes, and step 3, resolve Arcana. Then we move on to the brewing phase. Brewing phase works is, as I mentioned, we'll take cubes from our workbench and place them in the input, and take them from the general supply for the output. After everyone has produced their ingredients, we'll then remove the input and put it back to the general supply, and take the output and put it in our cauldron. After everyone has done this, we'll all pass our cauldrons to the right. In this case, the player to my left has given me 2 frog ingredients. Everyone will take the ingredients out of their cauldron and put it onto their workbench. If at any point the ingredients surpass, so in this case, if the player had given me 4 additional frogs, I would put the cubes in the space, I would have 1 additional frog. I would then give back to the player and they would put it in their witch's circle. But that is not the case here. Check for winners. If a player ever has 5 or more in their witch's circle, the game will end immediately and we'll determine who the winner is. More on that later. After that has been done, everyone will pass the recipe cards to the left, and they will draw 1 card off the top of the deck so that they have a full hand of 4 recipes to choose from. That is 1 round of the game. In this case, since the last player gave me additional frogs, I think I might take this card, Offering of Frogs. I'll put that on the right, play it, and then we'll all reveal. In this case, I have a second cauldron. So I'll move the cauldron to the 2, and then my cauldron will trigger. This is when we would resolve Arcana. Now the different arcanas, I'll start with the cauldron. The cauldron will allow me to take one ingredient from the general supply. Let's say I want to give the player to my right a red. I can then put a red in the cauldron and he will automatically get it. Basically a free output. The crow will allow me to remove 2 ingredients from my workbench, whether it be the same or 2 different ingredients. My choice. And last but not least, the book. The book will allow me to take ingredients from the general supply and use them in my recipes. So for example, then I could say frogs. Then I could use frogs as my ingredients from here instead of pulling from my workbench. But instead, I don't have a book. So instead, I will use from my workbench, as I should. Also, note, if I ever run out of ingredients here, but I do have ingredients to work with some recipes, I could choose to use the output of those recipes for other recipes. So for example, if I spin my frogs here, I produce a mandrake, a spider, and a mushroom. I can then use this mushroom to activate the recipe from prior, giving me produce another mandrake. So then I would spin that, and I would take my outputs and put it here. And so on and so forth. The game will continue until a player has 5 ingredients in their witch's circle. As you see here, once the player has 5 or more in their witch's circle, during the check for winners portion of the game, we'll end the game. If multiple players have 5 or more ingredients in their witch's circle, the person with the most wins. If there's a tie, then it's the person who has the biggest variety of different colors. And if there's still a tie, it's the players with the fewest ingredients on their workbench. And if after that, everyone shares a tie, if there's still one. Anyway, that's how you play Whirling Witchcraft. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below and tell us what you think. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.